regional Australia, where there are more little black flies than there are raindrops. Okay, this is the series called For What It's Tamworth. For What It's Tamworth. Okay, right, I'm driving off to a cafe to have a bite to eat and do some work on my computer, and in the meantime I'm going to have a little rave about flies and veganism. No, and I'm not suggesting that vegans eat flies, and of course vegans wouldn't eat flies. So just to be clear, I'm not a vegan and I don't want to be a vegan. I don't believe that it's unethical to eat animals per se, and I don't believe it's unethical to raise animals to eat them. I might come to shift on that position, but right now that's sort of how I see the world. I do believe, however, that it's unethical to mistreat animals. And with that said, from what I'm understanding, particularly being out here in rural Australia where there's a lot of agriculture and animals being grown, you look at these chicken sheds and you think to yourself, how can you justify bringing up an animal like a chicken in a big tin shed? Okay, a free-range chicken who gets to peck in the, scratch in the grass and scratch in the dirt and then lays an egg, and then the person comes and takes the egg. I don't know. I mean, do chickens suffer a psychological complaint if somebody takes their eggs? I don't know, right? So I don't think so. I think the chicken's quite happy. They lay an egg, they come back, it's not there, they lay another one, right? They pick in the dirt, as long as they, so I can't see anything ethically wrong with that. So for that, if just for eating chicken eggs alone, free-range chickens that are looked after, protected from predators and the elements, fed properly, allowed to go about their lives as chickens, and we take their eggs. I can't see that's an ethical problem, right? And the animal protein is a valuable component to a diet. If that chicken then maybe gets chopped at some point, and its death is painless or fast, everything's going to die one day, and so best if it's going to die, dies at the hand of a caring human. So I guess there's even a justification or an argument to say it's not unethical to eat the flesh of the chicken. I'm not going to go into bat against vegans. I respect vegans. I'm just saying that I don't want to be one. Now, with that said as well, I'm starting to take an interest in vegan menu options. I'm eating in a place called the Steakhouse, ironically, and they've got a couple of vegan meals, and I've had 2 of their vegan meals, and they're great. They're really nice. The one that I had the other day was a whole mixture of vegetables, fried vegetables, coconut cream, and I had a choice between tofu and mock chicken. Now I couldn't really decide one from the other, so I asked if I could have both, and I did. And the tofu was actually really nice, and the mock chicken was actually even nicer. And so mock chicken, it's a bit like mock turtle soup. It's like, it kind of looks like chicken, but it's not. And that was a very tasty meal. And so without being a vegan or necessarily sharing that ethical issue, I'm actually still kind of becoming a vegan in as much as I'm eating vegan meals. And so I guess you can then say, well, if those vegan meals are so tasty, and even if you don't see an ethical issue with eating the chicken in the scenario or eating its egg, why not just keep eating vegan meals and leave the poor chicken alone? And that's an argument. That's a fair argument. And so I guess maybe I'm a fair weather vegan. Maybe if there's a whole bunch of really tasty vegan meals available for the right price, then I wouldn't even worry about a vegetarian or even a omnivorous diet. So that's what I've been thinking about lately, and I hope that helps to help people think more about veganism as an option, right? So I'll come back to this at a later date, because I've been going through this journey with veganism over the last, probably maybe a year. I had a guy contact me through Facebook called Otto Poritz, a really interesting guy who's like a kind of vegan recruiter, and so he really started me thinking about it. And the way he described it, he said this is the most advanced, he's called it an ethical revolution that is spreading around the world. And every time I see one of those actions like the one I posted on Perium the other day in France with those girls getting beaten up in the pig house, it really resonates with me that these guys are on the right track. But then coming back to that argument, you know, if you raise hogs and you give hogs a good life, then I just right now, I just don't think that it's unethical to take their life, given that they're going to die anyway. And having said that, if you don't have to eat them, why would you go to the trouble of raising them and killing them in the first place? So, you know, let's park that aside for the moment, because that's not really the issue, right? The issue right now is the flies of Chalet 23. So the other day I came into my chalet. I'm staying at a place called the I'm going to put you around so you can see where I'm going. So I'm driving at the moment through the streets of Tamworth, and I'm heading to a cafe that I'm going to have a bite to eat. Okay, so I get back into my chalet the other day, and it is full of flies. It is full of flies. These little tiny black bastards. I think they call them bush flies, or bastard flies probably. There's flies everywhere. And so, and I count, I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all over the walls, all over the ceilings. And when I got in, they weren't really buzzing around. So I thought, well, okay, maybe I could just cohabit with the flies. I mean, if a fly is just sitting on the wall and it's not buzzing around and annoying you, it's basically like a little, I don't know, dot of paint, isn't it? Anyway, lo and behold, later on, the little bastards start flying around. And I'm thinking, that's okay, because I'm thinking about this vegan thing, and you know, don't kill something if you don't have to. And you know, we've got this insect apocalypse going on after all, remember? Anyway, so they annoyed the piss out of me a bit. So when later that day or whatever, I went out to BCF, boating, camping and fishing, and I asked the guy there if he had anything to kill flies, because I got to this point where I was thinking, well, you know, if they really start annoying me, I'm going to have to, you know, I'm going to have to let them know who's the boss here. So he said, yeah, look, we've got all these cans of spray, of fly spray. And I said, mate, you know, that's a fool's game. You don't spray poison in the air you breathe. It's just a no-brainer. You got anything else? Oh, and he had all these traps and coils. He had these coils, right, that put out, and that's the same thing. You're just putting this toxic shit in the air, which, you know, drives the flies or the mosquitoes away or whatever, but it also poisons your own lungs. Why would you do that? And he had all these electronic zappers and yada yada. I was looking for a fly swat. He didn't have one of those. Anyway, get back to Chalet 23 with the flies, and now they're going for me, mate. They're flying around my head, and it drove me into a fit of apoplexy. And I got a tea towel, and I whacked those little bastards everywhere. I think I might have also smashed the blinds and ruined the air conditioner in my pursuit of these little bastards. But I nailed a whole bunch of them, and I collected their carcass in a champagne glass. And shortly, when I have got the last goddamn fly dead in that apartment, that little chalet, I'm going to show you a photograph of the flies of Chalet 23. Now, I am not apologetic for killing those flies yet. I might have an ethical shift, right? But right now, those flies, I'm in battle. I'm at war with those flies. I'm at war with the flies of Chalet 23. Okay? And I'm winning. I'm winning, all right? More on this soon.